So we'll move on to step 23, which is attaching or assembling the front dampers. And I've pulled together the parts there. And again, we're going to use X6 to start with. So I'll grab that off of that parts tree as well. And we'll start building these shocks. Okay, let's build one of them. I'm going to try putting this on a little differently. I'll put that in, I'll put it on, and I'll push. And it did it. The easier way of doing this, because I can do it here on the paper, no big deal, like it's a flat spot, but it's harder to do when you've got this end cap. So just put this on the edge of a desk or wherever you're working, and then push it in. It's easier than trying to put it in through pliers, because obviously it's got to go through, so the pliers are technically in the way. So that's the easier way of doing it. So we're going to stick one of these spacers on. We're going to stick the spring on, and then we're going to insert one of those, and there you have it. Okay, so there we go. The front dampers are both ready to go. So we'll move on to step 24, which is now attaching the front dampers to the chassis. And I've already pulled together the screws, washers, etc. that we're going to need for this. So we'll go ahead and get started. So let's start with this side. So as you can see, it's going to be the BC1, which were two of those, and we're going to screw that into this top piece. So let's do this side first. So what we're going to need to do is put the screw through and grab one of the washers, and then that is going to screw into here. So we'll just screw it in nice and tight. There we go. So now you can see that we're going to attach the top one, which is one of these longer screws, the BA1s, which is now going to go through the top. And then there's the washer again on the other side. Only this time, we're also going to be using one of the BA16s, which is the flange nuts. So first off, we'll put that through, grab one of the flange nuts, spin that on, and I'll also use my wrench, and then we'll screw this in. And there you go. So there is one of the front dampers complete. So I'll go ahead and put the other one on. Okay, so now those shocks are both on the chassis. The only thing left that we have to do in this step is put this little screw and washer onto here, so you can see that that part's going to get tightened down. So I'll just go ahead and do that, and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so moving on to step 25, it's talking about the toe-in. And again, they're talking about adjusting these, but had we already clicked them on, it's showing you here, you'd have to clip them off again to do the toe-in. So I'm happy to have waited to this step before I even put them on. Now, as it stands, if you look at the way that is supposed to be, they want it angled forward slightly. That seems like too much of a toe-in to me, but this is what I've done, and to my mind the toe-in will be fine, because this is leaning forward just a little, like, you know, that way a little bit too much. This one is a little straighter. But what I'm going to do is, when this is up and running, I'll make some fine-tuning adjustments to the servo, which means that neutral won't look like that. Neutral will be have this one slightly more up, and that one will drop back slightly. So I'm going to be able to even this out easily enough just through what I can do with the servo. So I'm good with that. That positioning seems fine to me. So that is finished. So what we'll do is we'll move on to attaching the bumper. So for step 26, there's a couple of things we're going to be doing. One, we're going to be attaching the bumper, but we're also going to be attaching the metal underguard plate, which is going to protect both the servo and the speed controller, which you can see here. So this is going on to here and attaching so that those are protected, you know, if you're hitting something. So the metal is going to protect all the electronics. So we're going to install that, and we're going to install the bumper. So we'll do that. So first let's install the guard. So we'll take this, and I've bent this back just so that it's kind of out of the way as well, so it's not pinching. And then that's going to go down on top of there. Just give it a bit more length. There we go. And we'll then use these two tapping screws to attach the guard. Whoops. And I'll get the other side started as well before I put any pressure in and really lock it down. So it's looking good. So I will now screw those down nice and tight. That one's in all the way, and now we'll do the same with this. So that's in all the way. So now the guard is in place, and that wire's just bent back, so you can see that that's going to end up protecting the electronics. So now we will put on the bumper. Okay, so I needed a bit more leverage to get this bumper on just because of the tapping screws. So I've actually put it on, and you can see that the two flanged tapping screws went in the back, and then the other one with the other tapping screw with a washer. So that is what it looks like now. So we are ready to move on to step 27, which is putting the motor pinion gear on before we attach to the gearbox.